a good way to explain why when someone is living with dementia, sometimes they remember things and sometimes they don't, because just like weeds, like in the wind blows and sometimes you can see the flowers and sometimes you can't find them. And just this concept of it not being that they're there, but that things are in the way. So it enabled them to visualize it.
Welcome to Zestful Aging, where I talk with fascinating, talented, and inspiring guests who reflect on the adventures and challenges of aging and who are living their lives with vibrance and purpose. I'm your host, Nicole Christina, psychotherapist, writer, and fellow Zestful Ager. I want to invite you to my brand new free webinar, Zestful Aging. Here's how you do it. You can sign up at NicoleChristina.com. And as always, I appreciate your feedback. Well, I have my Jack Russell Terrier Sparky right beside me and my coffee in my hand. So let's begin. Today we'll be speaking with Kathryn Harrison, who wrote and illustrated her debut picture book, Weeds in Nana's Garden, to help spread understanding of dementia among children. Since its publication, her work has been translated into multiple languages and is available globally. In 2018, she collaborated with dementia care expert Jacqueline Jeanette to launch another picture book about dementia, I Smile for Grandpa. Kathryn's also a member of the management team running allsauthors.com, which is the world's largest online collection of written resources about Alzheimer's disease and dementia. And both of Kathryn's children's books support the Alzheimer's Society of Canada with every purchase. Welcome to the podcast, Kathryn.
Thank you. So great to be here.
Oh, I'm so delighted. And you have a really special project here. And I'm just wondering, there's so many books now on older people or middle-aged people, adults living with, their parents having dementia or Alzheimer's or their partners. I mean, there's movies. We know it's out there, but you did something really, really different. You wrote a children's book.
Yes, that's right.
Can you tell me a little bit about what prompted you to do that?
Sure. So my mom had early onset dementia, and she was diagnosed when she turned 62. And at the same time that she was diagnosed, I actually gave birth to my second child. So we had an interesting relationship with dementia and having young children at the same time. So my children kind of grew up as my mom progressed through the disease. And it was all around us. And because I was a part-time stay-at-home mom and helping my father with my mom, my children were with my mom a lot. And so we had the experience of having children and having someone living with dementia at the same time. And I looked for books to help me explain to my children what was going on, because it was relatively obvious to them that their Nana was different than other grandmas. But it wasn't, there weren't very many resources. Most of the resources that I was referred to didn't explain it to a degree that I was comfortable with. I wanted to really get to them knowing what was going on so that they weren't scared by it, so they understood it, so they could really engage and feel comfortable with the relationship that we had. And also, fortunately, they naturally did accept and enjoy a lot of what their different kind of Nana was like.
Mm-hmm. And what is your background? Do you have a writing background, or what have you been trained for?
I was actually in the advertising business for over a decade and worked in marketing and advertising. So I have a communications background. And so that was, so I always am thinking about how to speak about things and communicate and talk about things. And actually, I had the fortune of also being an artist by hobby. And actually, one of the gifts that my husband and I decided I needed during my mom's progression through the disease was to go back to art school. And it was a healing time for me that I could go to art school. And I took a diploma in fine art. And so when I graduated from my fine art diploma, I felt like, I have the communications background. I have the drawing and illustration training now. Maybe I can make a book that could help my kids and other kids.
Mm-hmm. It's really been transformative in many ways you could never have predicted.
Never, exactly. And that's where, when people are in the heart of a dementia journey, when it feels really hard, and it is really hard, my emergence of what happened to me through the process has been extremely beneficial. And I would say to my mom, she's passed away, but I say to her in spirit, Mom, you did this because you knew I needed to get back into art and creation.
Mm-hmm. So you had a newborn baby and you already had a child, is that right?
So yes, I had a 2-year-old daughter, and she was more observant of what was happening with my mom and what was changing. But I always like to say that having my children, this is one of the other reasons why I wanted to write a book, not only because there wasn't very many books about dementia for kids, but also because I found that having children and caring for my mom at the same time was extremely valuable, because my kids taught me about caregiving. I say this because they were so much more accepting and spontaneous than often I was about mom, because us adults like to always compare and, this has changed and now
it
she's
should be different.
Yes, and she used to do this and why isn't she doing that? And she used to make cookies that were so delicious. She doesn't anymore. Instead, she throws candy all over the place. Well, my kids would be like, hey, Nana throws candy all over the place.
So they were much more like in the moment and just sort of stating what was reality rather than what some people might call arguing with reality, which is, why does it have to be? This isn't right. Yeah. I see.
Yes. They were so much more in the moment. You're right. Like accepting of what was happening and not judging it. And they'd really taught me about that. And I enjoyed having them with me and realized that they were helping me. I enjoyed that they had spontaneity, that I have this story about my mom when we went grocery shopping. They always have music playing in the grocery store and you never really notice the music except if you're with my mom, because she would notice the music. And she would dance, and I would be like, ooh, you shouldn't be dancing. And then my kids are like, let's dance, sort of thing. So it was the best that way.
Wow, how interesting. And so, I'm thinking about this experience of watching your children and also, though, how do you navigate like, oh, wow, my kids are experiencing this differently. They're really helping me. But also as your mom's daughter experiencing the grief and the loss, how do you kind of do that at the same time?
Yeah, I think it was easier to focus on the good at the time. It gave me the strength to keep going and to be creative with the process, because also mom would really enjoy the arts and crafts things that my kids naturally did. And again, if I didn't have children with me, I might not have known that my mom loved blowing bubbles, like the bubbles that go up in the air, because we would have them with my little 1-year-old, and then mom would start like chasing them. And so wow. These are things that I don't know if I would have done if I
Right.
hadn't. So I think I just really, it was so much more about being in the moment and embracing the situation and keeping my kids connected. There was definitely hard moments when my mom turned sort of scary and she would yell and get upset. But I was trying to take my cue from my children and focusing on what we can do together and just be and enjoy the garden, enjoy the walks, enjoy the playing with the clay, and make the most of it that way. So, yeah.
How did you get the idea about sort of the tangles in your mom's brain? How did that come to you? Of the garden and then the weeds in your mom's brain.
It was actually I give a lot of credit to my kids because they deserve it. It was my daughter's idea because my mom had a very beautiful garden. They actually ran a bed and breakfast in a small town in Ontario, Canada. It was called the Butternut Inn, and it was beautiful inside and out, and had this gorgeous garden that was on garden tours. But as mom progressed, one of the things that happened was the garden got unkept because there was nobody to keep up with it. And you know how quickly it can get.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So we would still go in the garden and pick flowers, but it was my daughter that observed after one of those walks in the garden that there was so many more weeds. And she said, "Mom, it's so much harder to find flowers than it used to." And it was that cue that I said to her, I started to explain to my daughter, again, at this point, she would have been maybe 5, what was happening with her Nana, that she had a disease in her brain that was taking over her thoughts. And so she wasn't able to do as many things as she used to do. And it was my daughter that made the observation that it was like the weeds in the way of the flowers in the garden was like the disease in my mom's brain. And I was like, yeah, that's perfect.
It's
and
just brilliant.
It was then that I knew that the book idea had been firmly planted. And so I knew I was going to make the book after that. And we used that metaphor throughout Mom's illness. And it was a good way to explain why when someone is living with dementia, sometimes they remember things and sometimes they don't, because just like weeds, like in the wind blows and sometimes you can see the flowers and sometimes you can't find them. And just this concept of it not being that they're there, but that things are in the way. So it enabled them to visualize it, I think.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Has your kids' contribution to this book, do you think that's changed their lives as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think so, because they are much more in tune with the whole aging journey, and if someone actually does have a memory or disorder or some sort of, they are very aware of it and more comfortable with it, I believe. My daughter, she's now 16. But she's got aspirations in the healthcare business, so maybe. But I mean, overall, I think that it allowed them to gain some compassion that they had an opportunity to gain early on, that I'm hoping will continue to transform them in their lives. We actually had some fun too with their classmates. When I was creating the book, they decided to take the book to my children's classrooms while it was in process, because my kids at the time, my daughter was 9, and I thought, well, these guys really are who this book is for. Let's check in with them. And so I took the early versions of the book to 2 classrooms, actually, and it was from that experience that I developed the questions and answers that are in the back of the book. Because they were so full of questions and so open and so interested in it. And you know what? When I asked And if anyone had a loved one that had dementia, guess how many hands went up? A heck of a lot.
Oh, uh-huh. They were your pilot group.
They were my pilot group.
Oh my goodness. Give an example, would you, of some of the questions that the kids asked?
Sure. I thought this one was interesting because it was a question actually that I think a lot of people have if they haven't been in this journey, which is one child was like, why can't my grandma walk? Because it's her brain that's broken. Why can't she walk? So the ability to explain how dementia affects not only our thinking, but eventually our ability to move as well as things change in the brain. So that was one of the questions. A lot of them have questions about whether they could get this. And we talk candidly about how much we know and we don't know about what causes dementia diseases, but they had questions like that. They had questions about how they could help. That was one of the biggest parts of the discussion, actually.
Oh my goodness. Do you think your mom ever understood in some of her moments of clarity this idea of the weeds in the garden?
I don't know if we would have had that specific discussion, but she definitely understood from time to time that her grandchildren and her were interacting in a spontaneous way. Like, how can I put this? When we would have a particularly positive emotional time, like, dancing in the grocery store, or I think of one Christmas when we were decorating Christmas trees, the Christmas tree, and again, Mom started being kind of spontaneous, and you gotta understand, this is a woman that had a perfect bread and breakfast from House and Home magazine.
Oh my
would
goodness.
Start to, just sporadically put Christmas decorations all over the place. And then my children would start to do the same because why not? That's much more fun than putting them where they're supposed to be.
Right.
And there would be a giddy moment where we were all just energized and laughing and enjoying. And that would be a moment where Mom you could tell she just felt the beauty of the situation.
How playful it could become.
Yes. And being playful was the way to really enjoy what the changes that my mom had. So instead of her being very, precise and controlling and had a beautiful home with everything in order, and we had chaotic, hilarious moments that we embraced.
Yeah, it reminds me of having a toddler.
Mm-hmm. But I think it was just always done because it felt right, I guess, with feeling, and it wasn't an intended, or it wasn't sort of planned, I guess. It was just the outcome that came about by being accepting of what was happening. And I really felt like my children were helpful for me in that. And when Mom eventually was in a care home, the kids came a lot, and we enjoyed the same kind of thing with some of the other residents as well. So it just kept going. Yeah. I always feel like, having children brought into a care home can be the most wonderful thing. And I wish there was ways to do that more.
Do you want to talk a little bit about your next book, I Smile for Grandpa?
Sure, and a good segue, because Jacqueline Gannett, who is the author of the second book, it was a collaborative effort where she wrote it, and then she sent it to me, and I edited it with her, and we kind of worked with the story together, and then I eventually illustrated it. And she is actually a social worker that works in care home, and she was very interested in creating this book because she has young kids, and she brings her kids into the care home all the time. And she observed much of the same thing that we've been talking about how much having young children in the care home added this beautiful, positive, spontaneous, accepting energy. And that's why one of the main reasons she wanted to write a book about it. And when we first connected, we connected online. She lives in Edmonton, Alberta, which is in Canada, but really far away on the other
It's a big
side.
country.
Yeah, exactly. It's across the other side of the country, so we've never actually met in person. But she felt that we had Weeds in Nana's Garden with a grandmother main character, and her book has a grandfather main character. And we wanted to write it to be just even a little bit simpler for maybe a slightly younger kids as well. So we could include even maybe kids more like 3 years old versus the Weeds in Nana's Garden is probably ideal for like a 6-year-old and up kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So we felt like, yes, we could use another book. And this one, we decided to use the way of explaining dementia as like playing hide and seek, because that's a game that many of us are very familiar with, and most children understand, and the idea of the memories, and sometimes you can't. And so we created our book that way, and for this book we used Little Dog Family versus in Weeds in Nana's Garden. It was the illustrations were based off of my daughter and my mother and her garden, so they're a little bit different, but still my focus in their illustrations is to really be gentle and delightful for the children, so that it is a bit of a heavy story. But there's lots of little playful things for the children to look at in both books.
Mm-hmm. And so you're collaborating with Jacqueline across the country, and that's the power of the internet, right?
Isn't it?
You get to do the beautiful things. And we talked a little bit earlier about All's Authors. What's that all about?
That is another beautiful collaboration. It is an organization that was put together by authors who originally founded by 4 authors who had never met, who had all written books about either Alzheimer's disease or another type of dementia. And they came together to help each other get the word out about their books. And soon they started to run promotions together and programs together to help each other's books. And soon they had more and more authors ask if they could join. And then I joined, and then a few other people joined. And we are now up to over 170 authors are part of this collaboration.
Wow. It sounds so supportive and helpful, and the bigger picture of getting the word out rather than competing for book sales.
Absolutely. We all believe that we work together to help the stigma, to reduce the stigma, to help end the isolation of people that might be in a caregiving space. And we are so much stronger together. We talk about how as a team, we can offer a whole range of books, and we can offer a whole range of perspectives and experiences. Most, I would say 99% of the books that we have on our site are from personal experience, and there's quite a few that are professional experience as well as memoirs. And we always say you can sing a lonely song or form a choir and create harmony. So together we've created harmony.
Oh my goodness.
We've been running this site for I've been part of it for almost 2 years, and we only met in person for the first time this November at the caregiving.com conference in Chicago. We all physically met, and it was really wild to
What
physically.
was that? What was that like?
It was fantastic. So healing to be together because all of us have personal experiences and have our own journey, and we've all read each other's books, and being able to physically hug each other was fabulous.
Oh my goodness. It must have been such an instant bond.
Yes, definitely. We all are on the same road where we're looking for ways to help others that have been touched by dementia, and provide encouragement and ideas and experiences that can help them. Yeah, so it's a fantastic group, and it's worth checking out as well. They have books for kids. They have books. They have lots of memoirs. There's poetry books. There's guidebooks. And if you go to allsauthors.com, it's sorted. And not only do we have the books, but each of the authors who have written the book has shared why they wrote the book, their story on why they are compelled to write their book and their experience. And that's why it's so poignant, because it's authentically, survival stories of this experience that you can read and feel and learn.
So you all met at a conference? Is that how it went?
Well, what happened was caregiving.com, the website, ran a caregiving conference, and one of our other All's authors invited us to participate as All's authors as an exhibitor, and she was generous enough to donate to us to have a space there because we're a not-profit. We have, you know what it's like, and then we all just flew there to meet and to talk about All's authors to the people that were at the conference, and to share information about the resources on our site.
What is the kind of feedback you've gotten from these books? I know that they've been published in many, many languages, and they're all over the world now. What have you heard back from people reading your books?
It's just been lovely getting information back and getting reviews, customer reviews. A lot of people say that the books help adults too. I think that's the message that I didn't expect to get, that I got the most. They always say, a lot of people are saying adults will really enjoy this as well. And actually, I guess one kind of real indication of that was Capital Care Foundation, which is a not-for-profit that is associated with a large care home organization out in Western Canada, has purchased a large volume of these books because they want them in all the homes, so that even adults will be able to read them, and because of the questions and answers, and because of the stories is written in a more, I don't know, friendly, I guess, than reading a big book about Alzheimer's and dementia. It is a gentle way of learning about this disease.
Yeah, I found that too. It's a picture book. It's got these big, bright, beautiful drawings, and it brings you in. It's very welcoming, and it's feels very accessible, and it's not pathologizing. Here's a scan of what's blocked and what's, it feels, you use the word authentic, and it just feels so real life.
Thank you. That's what I'm hoping for, and I think partly because there was so much real life that went into this book, with my daughter, with my mom and my son, that I was hoping to capture that in the book. And so, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And actually, just I have to share, because this is so exciting. We just got approached by a company out of Denmark that is going to be doing both I Smile for Grandpa and Weeds in Nana's Garden in Danish, Swedish, Norwegian, and possibly Finnish.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Is this also something that would translate to film or to a television program? Is that something that people have thought about?
Some of my contacts at the Alzheimer's Society of Canada, we've spoken about how it would be really, it could be so beautiful.
Animated.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Hmm.
because I really tried to visually in the book Weeds in Anna's Garden to visually change the garden as the disease progressed.
Hmm.
So that would be a dream come true for me. And
Hmm.
as a way to get more understanding, because at the bottom of all of this is my goal that the more people that understand dementia, the more children, the more families, the better it is for all of us that are
Hmm.
experiencing or a part of it, or even just if we are just some just on a very peripheral level. So yeah, you never know. Let's put it out there.
Yeah, let's put it out there indeed. Yeah, it makes so much sense, you know. It just seems like the logical next step. It's so beautiful. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience, Kathryn, about your journey here, or any advice you might give? Many people, I'm sure, who are listening are having this experience. Maybe not with a newborn, but are certainly having experiences of parents or partners or loved ones having memory loss. Is there anything you would like to share?
I guess just back to kind of what I talked about before about I think it serves us well to live as much as we can in the moment and to embrace what's happening rather than and looking at the good in the now instead of what's lost to look at what
Mm-hmm.
we have now. The one, I had my mom passed away in 2010. At the same time, one of my good friends lost her mother very suddenly. And I remember us talking about you know, what would you prefer?
Mm.
and and I just said definitely what I had because I
Mm-hmm.
had so many chances to have quiet moments with mom and my dad and I got really close through the caregiving experience. We learned things about each other. It's not easy. You see, I can getting emotional,
Mm-hmm.
but you get to find a different side of yourself and a different side of them. And if you live in that moment and embrace what you have, you definitely have hard days, but you also have these moments that you wouldn't have had otherwise. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I could ever imagine my mother before that dancing in the grocery store. So
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, it's so interesting. As with so many things, tragedy can bring these sort of new parts of life we never would have imagined that are transformative for ourselves and for you, also all of the people who are reading these books.
and I also the people that work in care homes are just the most compassionate. I worked in the business world before, and everyone's lovely and smart and but I never seen so much heart for others as I did in my mom's care home, and that just opened my eyes to a different side of people that I didn't know existed.
Hmm. I've heard this again and again about people working in the fields of hospice or that are in the fields of support at care homes, and just that they're a different breed of people,
Yeah,
just
and
absolutely kind and compassionate.
I think having introducing them to my life has changed me for the better, and that's really why I've embraced All's authors and want to reach out even beyond my books to see what I can do.
Hmm.
I don't have the same talent as some of the folks that work in care homes, but I wanted to use my art skills that I
Yeah,
have to try and do something as well.
absolutely. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today, Kathryn, and learning about your experience and the beauty that you have made from it. How can
Thank you.
people find you?
I have a website for each of the books. There's,
Okay.
but I'm also on social media. It might be the easiest way on Twitter.
Okay.
I'm kath.harrison.art. I'm on
Okay.
Instagram at kathryn.harrison.art.
Okay.
Or maybe easier to remember is weedsinnannasgarden.com. You'll
Okay.
get me.
Okay. I will put that in the program notes so people can find this book and share it. And maybe one of those people will want to turn it into an animated series. That's what I'm hoping for you.
Me too. Yeah, bring it on.
Bring it on. Why not? Why not you? This is brilliant.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Kathryn.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's been so fun. You're so right.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. If you like the podcast, please share with some of your friends. I love to hear from my listeners. Send me an email at nicolechristina.com. And please consider becoming a patron of the show. You will get access to exclusive bonuses, and you will be part of the Zestful Aging community. Keep us going strong. Go to patreon.com/zestfulaging. See you next time for another episode of Zestful Aging.